Now we are going to see about an arrays in programming. What is the definition of an array means? The array is a collection of data elements that are of the same type. So the array is a collection of data elements means they have to store the data elements of the same type values. For example, if you declare the array as an int, in that particular array, they have to store only an integer values. For example, the collection of an integer, they have to declare as an integer array, they have to store only an integer value. If you have to declare an array as a character, they have to store only an character values. If you declare the array as a double, they have to store only an double values. So like that, the array has to store the elements of the same type. The next slide shows how we have to declare the array in the programs. The syntax for the array declaration is type followed by an array name followed by an array size. So here the type can declare that what type of values can be stored in this particular array. Then that followed by the type, they have to give the array name. This is the name of that particular array. Then followed that we have to give the array size. The array size is the size of the array, the value, the size, how many values the particular array has to store can be declared here as an array size. For example, int a of 10. Here the type is an int, the array name is an a, the size of that particular array is an 10. So here the A of A array the array name A has to store only a 10 values of the same type as an integer value can be stored in an array element A from 0 to 9. The array elements are all of the values of the type, and it can be the size of the array can be indicated by an array size. The array size must be an int constant. Here the array size must be an integer constant, or it may be an constant expression. We have to give the integer constants, or we have to give the integer constant expressions for declaring an array size. Note that the array can have multiple dimension. We have to declare the array as a single dimension or two dimensional or an multiple dimension. For example, the array declare how we are to declaring an array. For declaring int a of 10, they have to allocate the memory have to allocate the memory have to allocate the memory space in the system for the array a for storing an 10 elements. So like this they have to give the memories, they have to allocate a memory space in your system for this particular array. The array size we have to declare array size as an a of 10. So the array can be allocate the space from 0 to 9. So they have to cover and 10 elements can be stored in this particular array. Before storing an value, the array has to allocate the memory space for a of 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 9. The values can be stored from one after the next. The first value can be stored in an a of 0. The next value can be stored in an a of 1. The next value stored in an 2. Then next value can be stored in an a of 3. The next value stored in an a of 4. Like this, the value can be arranged in one after the another. Next is in an array declaration, we must have to specify the subscripting values. So what do you mean by subscripting means? If you declared an array, they have an subscripting values to get a specific specific elements value from that array by using a subscripting. For example, we have to declare an array of 10 integer, so we have to declare int a of 10. To access an individual elements, we must apply a subscript to array named A. If we want to access the individual element of an array, we have to apply the subscript to the arrays. The subscript is a bracketed expression. The expression in the brackets is known as an index. So each array can have an index value. From that index value, we have to access an individual we have to access an individual elements from the array. For example, the first element of an array has an index. The first element of an array has an index value 0. So we have to get the first element of an array by using an subscript a of 0. If you want to get a second element of an array, we have to specify that as an a of 1. If we want to second element, we have to get as an a of 2. So like that, we have to give the subscripting. We have to give, if you want to access the individual elements in an array, we have to give like this as the subscripting with the index. The last element of an index is 1 less than the size of an array. So it can be an a of 9. So from a of 0, for declaring an a of 10, we have to access the individual element from a of 0 to a of 9. If you initialize a value in this slide, int we have to declare, already we have to declare int a of 10. So for that, for the subscripting of an array, we have to assigning a value to that particular array elements. For example, here we have to assign 1 to the array element a of 3 or an array index e of 3. So in this statement, from this statement, the system has to allocate a value 1 to the array element a of 3, like this. So here in an array, if you declared an array, the system has to allocate the memory space for all your array size. So from the 0, we have to declare as an array as an 10, so that 0 to 9 can be allocated. From that, here we have to allocate the value 1 for a of 3. So for the a of 3 element, for the a of 3 subscripting value, they have to store a value 1 here. So what are all the applications next? What are all the applications of the array means? They have to determine the maximum and minimum scores, and they have to rearrange them, their names in an alphabetical orders, and measure the height of the students, and give the output as an taller than an average. So like this applications we have to using an arrays. Now we are going to see about one example for the subscripting program. Here, in this program, we have to read 10 integer values from the user and print the 10 values in the system as an output. For that, we can use declaring an array and using a for loop for this. So we have to write a program in a C++. So we have to include an include file of hash include IOString int. We have to declare the program within a main function. So int main, in the curly braces we have to declare an variables, two integer variables as an int, and another one is an array element ar of 10. So here now we are going to get and read a 10 elements. So we have to give the output statement as enter 10 integers. Using a for loop, we have to read the 10 elements. So for that, we are initializing the index is equal to 0 and index is less than 10. We have to check the condition, and next one we have to increase the index value by 1. So now we are getting an index value 1 by 1 by AR of 0. First we have to get AR of 0 value, then we can get an A of 1 up to less than 10, that means AR of 9 values. That means we have to get a 10 integer values. So after getting a 10 values, we have to move to the integer. We have to move to print the values, received values. So for that we have to give the output as same we can using a for loop int I is equal to 0, int less than 10, index plus plus. We have to print the value by using an cout statement, cout AR of index. So here we have to print values array element from AR of 0 to AR of 9. Next one is for a sorting element. Next example is for a sorting and three integer values. For that we have to using a function void swap int of int, and within the main function we can get an three array values a of 3. So we have to read the three integer values a of 0, 1 and 2. We have to compare the three values. First we have to compare the values by using an if statement a of 0 greater than a of 1. Then we have to swap a of 0 and 1. If a of 1 is greater than a of 2, swap a of 1 and a of 2. A of 0 is greater than a of 1, swap a of 0, comma a of 1. See how here we have to print the sorted array of values by using an a of 0, a of 1 and a of 2. Here we have to get an sorted values by using this function. For the swap here they have to use the swapping function void swap int first and int second. From that they have to declare the temporary value as an TMP. So the first value can be moved to an temp, the second value is moved to the first, and the temp value can be moved to the seconds. So here they have to swap the first and second values. So next we have to initialize an array with the random values by using an by assigning an array mylist with the random value between 0 to 99. Here we have to declare the for loop int I is equal to 0, I less than a of array size less than array size int I plus plus. So they have to initialize the array from they have to get the array from 0 to 99. They have to randomly initialize the array values. The next is then how to printing an array values by giving an print the each element in an array by using this loop int I is equal to 0, I less than array size I plus plus. See, by using an cout statement they have to print the all the array elements in the my list. Next, copying an array. We have to copy the array elements from. We cannot copy directly one array elements to another array elements in a C++. We have to copy an individual elements from one array to the others by following the statement my list of I to the my list of 1. The next slide is on summing of all the elements. How to sum all the elements in an array by assigning an name a total as a temporary user variable, and we have to initialize the value as a 0. The double total equal to 0. Int 0 array is less I is less than size and I plus plus. From that we have to store the total array value my list of I can be added with total, and the array values increase, then the second value of my list of 1 can be a total add with the total, then array values increase, then the my list of 2 can be added with the total. Like this, likewise the overall array size of that particular my list value can be stored, and the total number of the value can be taken from this total variable.